You know, I was just listening to a pastor, a preacher, a very popular preacher, and he was saying all the right stuff, but I had a gut feeling something wasn't right with him, and millions of people listened to him. Just a gut feeling. But you know, it got me to thinking about my message, my ministry. You know, not everybody is a leader, but when it comes to preaching, we all have something to offer because the power's in the testimony. What has God done for you in your life? Where has God brought you from? You know, 5 years ago, I left everything. I had a little business. Uh, I had a social, whatever the hell you call it. I had friends and family. 5 years ago, God ripped me away from all of it, and I've been in solitude ever since. And I've learned a few things, and He's shown me that I've learned a few things. I've learned to hear His voice easy now. That's not hard to do. And He's also enhanced my discernment. And I'm going to tell two stories. You know, I had had to hire somebody to come out here and fix something a couple years ago. And well, when the guy showed up, I could feel something was off. And I've always had discernment, but anyway. I could feel something was off, and I went inside and I told my wife, I said, something's wrong with that guy. He's fixing to go to jail. I didn't know, never met this dude in my life. Never met him. Well, sure enough, they were supposed to come back the next day. But they couldn't come back because he was in jail. And I said, don't worry. I was telling my wife. My wife called him, or they called her. She said, man, you were right. He's locked up. They can't come out. I said, well, when his girl comes out, it's okay. I'm gonna pray with her, because it was kind of a family business. And that's exactly what happened. When she came out, I prayed with her. And I tried to encourage her because I was lost. You know, I've been to jail my share of times, and I'm living proof that there's hope for anybody. But I'm gonna tell you another story too. Of a long, long time ago, me and my dad had a water tower painting business. And back in '07, God started pulling me away from it. Well, my dad was still, running the business. Every now and then I would help, but I was going in my own direction. And so, one day, I had been up all night doing, let's call it go fast. I'd been up for a long time. Well, I get the call from my mom because my dad was on a water tower way, way down in South Texas. Somebody had fallen off the water tower about 90 feet, and he was alive in a hospital. So my mom calls me and says, hey, somebody fell. And immediately God told me, hey, I want you to get in your V. I want you to drive down there because you're going to lead this man to Christ. I said, God, I'm high. And after going back and forth with God for a little bit, I got in my truck and I drove down to South Texas. I got a motel room and I couldn't sleep because I was still high. And so the next morning, I get up to go to the hospital where the man is. And when I get to the hospital, we're the owners of the company and all this man's family's there. So it's kind of there's an odd feel, right? Because lawyers are everywhere. Well, when I get to the hospital, me and my dad just walk into the ICU area, and it's like these doctors and nurses don't see us. And I just take off walking. I'm leading. My dad's behind me. And I walk. I don't know where I'm walking, and I'm just walking, and I'm walking, and bam. I go right to this man's hospital room. Just walked right in. And so I get to the side of the bed. My dad's on the other side of the bed, and my dad's trying to talk to him, and I say, I'm here on business. The Lord sent me here to pray with you. And so I prayed with this man, and he accepted Christ. And immediately after, all the doctors and nurses could see us. They say, what are you doing in here? You can't be in here. You got to go. None of his family could go in there, but us two walked right in to lead this man to Christ. And afterwards, you know, I'd always sought affirmation from my dad and never really got it. But after that man prayed, I prayed with him and he accepted Christ. We had to leave the ICU. And my dad was behind me saying, Red, man, oh my God, that was amazing. That was unbelievable. I can't believe you're a soul saver, Red. But I could not accept glory from my dad. I had to walk out of that ICU, walk to the elevator, and I had to leave the hospital. I could not even acknowledge my dad because I could not accept glory. But on my way out, when I was running away from my dad glorifying me, I could hear heaven. I heard it. You know how Scripture says that when one sinner repents, all of heaven rejoices. I heard heaven. But I could not accept any glory for it. So I had to hear heaven by myself. But I heard it. You know, I say that story because there's so many people who adore these preachers. One man up there every Sunday, every Wednesday, whenever it is, on the TV screen. I think we all have something to offer. And when one man preaches all the time, you know, that makes it easy for Satan to destroy the whole congregation. I think we all have something to offer when it comes to preaching because we all have a testimony. And God still works in our lives every single day. We could brag about God. We could brag on God about something every single day if you're walking with Him. If you're alive, whatever you've overcome. I think we do it wrong. Not everybody's a leader, but everybody can be a preacher because the power's in the testimony. And you know, so many churches go out of business because one man burns out. Anyway, I hope this message helps somebody. I sincerely do.